we're diving into a topic that might be affecting your practice more than you realize. Is your office manager living the Peter Principle? Now, you might be wondering, what is the Peter Principle and how could it apply to my medical practice? Let's break it down. Welcome to Medical Money Matters, the podcast where you can find experts, answers, and resources so that you can achieve mastery over the financial and business aspects of your practice. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jill Arena. I began my career in accounting and finance, and I have more than 30 years of experience running medical groups. I own and operate a national healthcare consulting and revenue cycle company, and I am the author of Physician Heal Thy Financial Self. In 2020, I co-founded the Physician Leadership Project, and my passion is to increase financial and business literacy for physicians. Episode 102. Is your office manager living the Peter Principle? Welcome back to Medical Money Matters, the podcast where we unravel the complexities of running a successful medical practice. Today, we're diving into a topic that might be affecting your practice more than you realize. Is your office manager living the Peter Principle? Now, you might be wondering, what is the Peter Principle and how could it apply to my medical practice? Let's break it down. The Peter Principle is a concept first described by Dr. Laurence J. Peter in his 1969 book, The Peter Principle: Why Things Always Go Wrong. It states that employees in a hierarchy tend to rise to their level of incompetence. In other words, they get promoted based on their performance in their current role until they reach a position where they're no longer effective. In the context of a medical practice, this principle can have significant repercussions. Picture your office manager, someone who has been with your practice for years. They've handled scheduling, billing, and HR, wearing multiple hats as your practice grew from just a couple of physicians to a bustling team. But as the demands increased, their skill set may not have evolved as quickly. Suddenly, they're managing tasks beyond their capabilities, struggling with strategic planning, advanced budgeting, or navigating complex regulations. That's the Peter Principle at play. To understand how this plays out, let's walk through the growth stages of a medical practice and how the office manager's role evolves. Let's start with small practices of 1 to 3 physicians. At this stage, the management structure is usually lean. The office manager may handle a wide range of tasks, from front desk duties to overseeing insurance claims and coordinating with patients. They're expected to be a jack of all trades, and often that works well. The workload, though multifaceted, is manageable, and the manager's direct involvement in day-to-day operations keeps everything running smoothly. However, even in this stage, signs of stress can emerge. If your office manager starts missing details or frequently needs guidance, it could be an early sign they're approaching their limits. Now let's talk about medium-sized practices of 8 to 10 physicians. This is where things become more complex. You're scaling up. There are more physicians, more patients, and higher administrative demands. The office manager now has to step up, not just as an organizer, but as a leader who can delegate tasks, oversee billing teams, handle compliance, and create efficient workflows. Here's where the Peter Principle often makes its presence known. Many managers who excelled in smaller practices now find themselves swamped. Instead of delegating, they try to keep control of everything, leading to burnout and errors. Have you noticed communication breakdowns, mistakes in billing, or difficulties in rolling out new procedures? These are classic signs that your manager might have reached their level of incompetence. The practice may have outgrown them. Moving on to contemplating large practices of 25 or more physicians. By now, your practice is more like a corporation. The office manager isn't just an overseer, but a strategist, needing a whole new set of skills, including data-driven decision-making and long-term financial planning. This is a far cry from managing a front desk team or scheduling appointments. The group truly needs a practice administrator or even a CEO at this point. It's in this environment that the gaps in management experience become stark. An office manager who's out of their depth here might avoid difficult conversations, struggle with staff retention, or fail to keep up with compliance updates, all detrimental to a large practice. Now, let's talk about why this is so common and why it is so easy for the Peter Principle to take hold in medical practices. One major reason is that most physician owners don't receive business training. Think back to your own journey through medical school and residency. How many courses did you take in business administration, finance, or leadership? If you're like most doctors, the answer is probably 0 or very close to it. This lack of business training leaves many physician owners with only a partial understanding of what they should expect from an office manager or practice administrator, as we outlined in episode 81. The result? They often rely heavily on the manager's assurances or overlook red flags, believing loyalty and long service are synonymous with competence. And while loyalty is invaluable, it isn't always an indicator of leadership potential. We routinely get called in to groups who have had an office manager who has been struggling for months or even years. Given physician owners' lack of business training and general reticence to address the issues, this can cause a great deal of organizational and financial strain. So how can you tell if your office manager is struggling, and what should you do about it? We'll get to that in the next segment, but first, here's a question to ponder. When was the last time you assessed the leadership capabilities within your practice? If this topic resonates with you, in our next segment, we'll dive into the signs of managerial struggles and how to support or reassess your office manager to prevent the Peter Principle from impacting your practice's success. So now that we've outlined the problem and its likely source, let's talk specifics. How do you know when an office manager has reached their level of incompetence? It can be difficult to identify, especially when loyalty and familiarity cloud judgment. But there are tangible signs that your manager is struggling. Here are some of the most telling indicators. Number 1, communication issues. When an office manager who once excelled starts struggling, communication is often one of the first things to suffer. You might notice that they're slow to respond to emails, forget to relay important messages, or fail to keep the team informed. Meetings may become less organized with little actionable direction. This can lead to confusion and frustration among staff. Number 2, recurring errors and oversight failures. Another red flag is a pattern of repeated mistakes. This could be in billing, coding, or scheduling that leads to patient dissatisfaction or even financial loss. An overwhelmed office manager may overlook compliance regulations, putting the practice at risk during audits or inspections. Number 3, high staff turnover and low morale. If you've noticed an increase in staff resignations or complaints about the work environment, it may be a sign that your office manager is no longer effective. When leaders are overextended, their inability to manage stress and delegate can trickle down, impacting the entire team. Number 4, resistance to change. Practices need to adapt continuously to new regulations, technologies, and patient expectations. If your office manager is resistant to implementing new systems or struggles with project management, they might be out of their depth. An inability to embrace change is a common hallmark of someone who has reached their peak. Have you observed any of these signs? If so, it's essential to address them sooner rather than later to prevent cascading issues throughout the practice. But how do you approach this sensitively and constructively? Let's get into that next. So you've recognized the signs and you suspect your office manager might be overwhelmed. What's the next step? This can be tricky because these individuals often have been loyal team members who contributed significantly to your practice's growth. Here's how to navigate this process thoughtfully. Number 1, open communication and feedback. The first step is an honest conversation. Frame this as an opportunity to understand their perspective. Approach the discussion by highlighting observed challenges and asking how they feel about their workload and current role. Their responses may reveal if they're aware of the gaps or feel unsupported. Number 2, professional development and support. Sometimes the right solution is training or professional development. If your office manager is willing, enrolling them in leadership, project management, or financial management courses can bolster their skills. There are also mentorship programs and industry workshops that focus specifically on healthcare administration. Remember, investing in your team can yield significant returns if they have the capacity and willingness to grow. But this isn't always enough, so let's look at the next option. Number 3, role realignment or delegation. It might be beneficial to redefine their role to better fit their skill set. This could involve hiring an assistant manager or assigning more specialized tasks to different staff members, allowing your office manager to focus on what they do best. Delegation can breathe new life into their work and improve overall practice efficiency. Number 4, seeking external expertise. When realignment isn't sufficient, consulting with external experts can be game-changing. Organizations like Healthy Practices offer a wealth of resources and can help assess your management structure objectively. Consultants can provide tailored strategies that align with your practice's size and needs. Number 5, transition planning. In cases where it's clear that the office manager has reached their limit and cannot grow further, it's crucial to plan a transition that is fair and respectful. This might involve moving them into a different role within the practice or supporting them in finding another position outside of the practice that better suits their strengths. While difficult, this ensures that the practice continues to thrive without compromise. We meet with many physician groups who are understandably very wary of making a change, since usually the office manager holds all the keys to the kingdom and quite a bit of the organizational knowledge. There are certainly ways to finesse a transition and many concrete steps to take to assure that the group survives and thrives through any managerial transition, scary as it may seem. To recap, the Peter Principle can significantly impact a medical practice, especially as it grows from small to large. Recognizing the signs that your office manager is struggling, such as communication breakdowns, recurring errors, high turnover, and resistance to change, is the first step. Addressing it requires open communication, investment in professional development, role realignment, and, when necessary, the courage to implement a respectful transition. Physician owners, remember this. Your medical practice's success isn't just about the care you provide to your patients, it's also about how well you lead and manage your team and your business. Keep evaluating your leadership structure and be proactive in addressing signs of the Peter Principle. Doing so will not only enhance efficiency, but also improve workplace morale and patient satisfaction. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Medical Money Matters. If today's discussion resonated with you and you're curious about assessing your management or leadership structure, don't hesitate to explore professional consulting services like those provided by Healthy Practices. We're here to help medical practices thrive with expert financial and operational guidance. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your colleagues. And, as always, join us next time for more insights on running a successful and efficient medical practice. You can find more information online at medicalmoneymatterspodcast.com, and you can also find examples in my book, Physician Heal Thy Financial Self, which is available on Amazon. We've included those links in the show notes. As I like to close out these podcasts, congratulations on taking the next step in your professional development and for making the commitment to learn about the financial and business aspects of your practice. I look forward to being on this journey with you, and I send you my heartfelt gratitude for all that you do for your patients all day, every day.